What does a relationship with Christ look like? How do you have a relationship with Christ? How do you have an intimate relationship with the Father? These are questions that we have probably pondered, analyzed most of our lives, whether you're a new believer or seasoned. It's something that we always go back to. We always try to figure out, how do you truly do it? Are we doing it the correct way? Is there rituals like attending church? Is there things that we have to do to make sure we're doing it correctly? And I believe the answer is kind of in there, is we make things complicated. We overanalyze. It's really way more simple than we think. It's not about all of those things. It's about an actual relationship, like all your other intimate relationships. It's about taking the time to nurture and getting to know Christ. It's literally just like that. And I know it's complicated because for some, and myself at times, if it's not something in the flesh, it's harder to grasp, to understand, and it's beyond our own logical understanding. So people, they get stuck on that, and then they're like, yeah, okay, I'm good. You got to get past that. It goes beyond that. And that's where faith and trust and hope and all of those wonderful words, that's where that comes in, because you have to have those things in order to keep moving in the faith in your journey, as well as your relationship with Christ. It's literally a whole interconnected situation. Can't have one without the other. So let me backtrack and start with, what does it look like? What does a relationship with Christ looks like? Well, just like when you get to know anybody, I would say start off with the Word. And I know people always say, oh, okay, yeah, it's been, I don't know how to read it. But there are so many different versions of it. There are Bible study Bibles now. There's so many different versions of it now. And it's to break down what it is hard to comprehend. And a lot of it too is just, you need to pray. And again, praying is not a particular prayer. It's just really talking to God, like how I'm talking to you right now. Just I'll say, hey, Lord, can you please help me understand the message you're trying to give me here? Because here's the thing. A lot of times what people are reading in scriptures, God's going to reveal different things to people. They could be reading the same scripture and be revealing something else to somebody else. So you really have to have that intimacy in order to understand the Word, the Bible, which is also the spirit of the sword and the full armor of God. But we'll go into that in another episode. So going right back into it, a relationship, it really is just getting to know Him. So the Bible, do you have to go from Genesis to Revelation? No, you can go to, honestly, I always say go to the Gospels. So Luke, John, Matt, I'm horrible at this. Go into the Gospels. I'm new, as you can see myself, when it comes to the Word myself. I'm just now finishing the New Testament, so I'm kind of going backwards. It took me a long time. It took me years to even read the Bible. So I tried to do the Genesis to Revelation. That did not work. So then I tried to do the New Testament to Old Testament, and I actually got 3 books left before I go to the Old Testament. So whatever works for you, whatever God is leading you as far as how to read the Word, let Him lead. But I always tell new believers to just go right into the Gospels, because that is where you need to start. That's where you need to really know who He is, what His purpose, what the purpose of all of this is, why. he has these amazing followers and just your purpose and what you're supposed to do and who you are. And so it really breaks all of that down. And that's why I think a lot of people are telling people to read the gospel, spreading the gospel, spreading the good news, because it's literally about that, about who Christ is, his purpose, his mission, his ministry, everything, and our purpose and what we're supposed to do and who we're supposed to be, and Christ-like, and who we're supposed to be towards each other. It's not about, again, this is an episode in the future. It's not about judging people. It's not about, because we have no place to judge anyone. So there's that. And it's not about feeling like you're better than anybody. It's not about, oh, this is the way and that is not the way. This way is better than that way and you're wrong and we're right. And it's not about any of that. It's about literally having a relationship with Christ and letting things unfold from there. How things are going to play out in your life and how Jesus wants to reveal things in your life is going to be up to him, of course. But realizing going into this that it's not the logical, you can't go into this with a logical perspective. And I found it interesting because, again, this is something we'll talk about later, but people, they want to believe in the supernatural of other things, but not of Christ, which it's weird. But I feel like you have to have a perspective, obviously, to understand. You have to have faith and you have to have trust and you have to have hope. And it's not even about, is Christ real or not? It's more about, how can you have a relationship with him? How can you figure out who you are in Christ, and how do you get moving in your kingdom purpose? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are losing their lives. A lot of people don't know who they are. A lot of people are struggling and they're addicted to everything except Christ, because they just never figured out who Christ was, God was. They never had a relationship. They don't know who they are. And I always believe that you have natural abilities to achieve a lot in this world. I do believe we have natural abilities, God-given abilities and gifts, and then we have the gifts, of the Holy Spirit as well. And I feel like your natural abilities can only get you so far, and then you are going to need Christ at some point. You're going to need God at some point. You only can go so far before you hit your end. And I think that's the next point here, is just being vulnerable, surrendering, being vulnerable, knowing that you can't do everything on your own. You're not meant to, because people think that's empowering, like, oh, I can do everything. But you're also going to be carrying the burdens, and you're also going to be carrying everything that comes with that. There's responsibility that comes with that. It's not just all rainbows and butterflies. Like, you're literally taking on everything, and it's not meant for you to take on everything. And I think that's the part that we all struggle with. We want to be self-made, we want to be self-driven, but we weren't meant to be that way. We weren't meant to be having that perspective, having that mentality. Does that mean we're just weak beings and we can't do anything? No, it just means we are strong. We do have strength and we have the abilities, but it's through Christ, who is our foundation, who is our safety net, who helps us navigate the world that we live in, and helps us. It definitely curves the blows that life throws at us, whether that's losses or addiction or just identity. So backtracking here, the next point would be reading the word, because you have to get to know somebody just like you do in a regular relationship. You got to get to know who this person is. And reading the word is like you're basically allowing Jesus and God to reveal themselves to you and who they really are. And again, that's going to look different for everyone. What he may say to you may not say to somebody else. So it's going to be your own personal, intimate relationship every time you read the word, every time you do a devotional, Every time you pray, things will get revealed to you. If it's a consistent thing, which that's the next thing. Prayer is literally talking, like I'm doing right now with you, just talking to him, letting him know, just letting him know, just letting him know where you're at, asking him to reveal himself, asking him what to do next. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes it's really not a back and forth conversation, and sometimes it is. It really depends on the situation. Which brings me to my next thing is patience. We have to have the patience, we have to have the faith, and we have to have the trust and hope in the midst of it, and just give it to Christ at all times, and then just have faith that he will come through, and he does. And it's not always in the way we think it's going to happen, but it happens. Believe me, it definitely happens. So being consistent, things they don't happen overnight, and to still be consistent with it, and to go in it with pure intentions, go in there really wanting to know who Christ really is, not, I feel like if you go into a situation just asking for stuff like he's a genie, you're not going to really, it's not going to be a good situation. Because I could tell just in the word that he was really, you could tell he was frustrated because people always wanted him to do signs. Like he was an entertainment situation. Like, oh, well, let's prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it, So I can only imagine, and I'm sure he gets this all the time, but I can only imagine oh, well, if you're this, you're Christ, you do this or do that. It's not about that. I mean, you are supposed to test the spirit, but not to that. No, I'm not supposed to test God. Those are different. Again, a later episode. But to be able to just go in with genuine, pure intentions of, hey, I really just want to get to know who you are, what my purpose is, because we are all here for a reason. And really just letting him in, being vulnerable, which is hard. It is really hard, but being vulnerable. And that is, if anybody you need to be vulnerable with, it is God. It is Jesus. You need to be vulnerable with the great I am, because I'm telling you, out of all the people that the same today, yesterday, and always, like seriously, it's not going to change. We are human. We are going to change. We're not going to always follow through. We're not perfect. We're very flawed. But if you want to put your hope and your dreams and your worries and your burdens and everything and your wounds, Christ is the one, and God is the one to give that to. That's the foundation that you need, especially in this world where everyone is all about me, and everyone is all about, oh, what do I get from this? And a lot of people are starting to become more cold. So that relationship ends up being your foundation, your safety net from everything that you go through. Does that mean there's going to be that you're just going to not go through things? No, you're going to still go through things, but again, it's the safety net, and it I don't want to say it lowers, but it's blocks kind of some of the hits. It's not going to hurt as bad as it would if, I would say, you didn't have Christ as the foundation. It still hurts. You still go through things, but a lot of the times those are growing opportunities. A lot of those trials are growing opportunities. A lot of the times where things do end up happening, that's what happens. And I get that a lot too in the beginning, when people are like, well, why do I want to do that? All these things happened to me. God wasn't there. Why do I want to have a relationship with him? Let me tell you, from someone who is, I have a history, okay? And I don't have the time to talk about it today, but I have a history of losses. I have a history of betrayal. I have a history of everything. I have thorns, like I've said in poetry, mental health stuff, trauma, everything, a lot of things, addiction, a lot that I have been through. And a lot had to happen, even though I feel like a lot of the times I'm still healing in those areas. If I didn't go through those things, I don't think I would have the faith to proceed in a lot of the areas that God has me in right now. I feel like I wouldn't be in the areas I'm in right now, and that's including being a NAMI facilitator and all the roles that he has me in right now, including being a parent and where he has me right now, I feel like that wouldn't have been the case if I didn't go through all those things. So even though there's times where I'm like, wow, I really could have been through all this without that. I didn't want that. I didn't want that lesson. That's unfortunately, that is how it happens, because we all have free will, and that's including the bad people. And sometimes things do have to happen. Sometimes we do have to lose people. Sometimes we do have to lose ourselves. And that doesn't mean he doesn't love us. That doesn't mean that he's not there. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. It just means that that's something that had to happen in order to strengthen you. And there was no other way that was going to happen without those obstacles, without those trials. So even though Satan created a lot of the chaos to destroy you, because that's the one, guys, kill, steal, destroy. Satan, not Jesus, not God, Satan. God's the one that turns it for the good. He turns it around. He turns it for something that was meant to break us. He's going to use that. So in my situation, I've had a lot of losses. I've had, addiction. I've had identity stuff, everything, just figuring out who I am, and struggling with purpose, and just self-esteem, all of that. And so look what he's done. Now there's a ministry, S.Q. Ministries, that's all about that. Now I'm working on Holy Recovery stuff as well. So again, these things that were meant to destroy me and just to keep me on that self-sabotaging path, God turned that around for the good, to help others, to be a testimony, to give somebody else hope, because there's always a reason that you're going through something. If it's not to give yourself hope, it's to give somebody else hope. The steps that you took gave somebody that probably wouldn't have even thought about taking that step. It gave them hope by you taking that step and you getting on the other end of that. And whether you want to have a close relationship with Christ or not, there's a lot of times where Christ is still there regardless. God is still there regardless. Whether we recognize him or not, he's still there. So I think the next thing is, and I'm just going to say the final piece of this, is consistency. You cannot base it off of circumstances. Yes, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad times. It's going to be a mixture. It's not, like I said, it's not a fairy tale. It's not butterflies and rainbows. It's not for the weak. When I say that, I'm not playing. It is not for the weak. I mean, people think if you are a follower that means you're like this passive aggressive or just this happy-go-lucky person that has no backbone. Y'all need to do your Bible study and read your word for real, because the lion and the lamb, for real, he don't be playing. So it's not about that, and it's not about that. It's about having that foundation, being in your purpose and helping others just have that relationship with Christ. And at the end of the day, it's really about just saving as many people as we can, because Satan's on a mission. As you can see, he's on a mission. Y'all seen the Grammys, right? And I'm just going to leave it at that. He's on a mission. But then y'all see those revivals happening, right? Just saying. He's on a mission. And we have to start somewhere, and I don't believe in that whole scare tactic stuff. Like, well, if you don't do it, you're going to hell. Because at the end of the day, I don't know. Only he knows. I have no idea. You really don't know. So who am I to tell anybody that? Scare tactics, I don't think that's not the way to go. So if someone's doing that, you need to keep it moving. Go somewhere else with that. Go to a different church, go to a different person, pastor, preacher. Don't keep following that person. Scare tactics, that's not how it should go. But you should know everything, that obviously if you just continue not having a relationship with Christ, that leads to destruction. That's in the word. It leads to destruction. Like, it's not going to be a good ending if you just continue thinking you can do everything on your own and you don't need him. So the fact that he is allowing you to have that free will, and that he's there whenever you get to that place, and a lot of times he'll just let you do your thing, But then with me, at least, I had to really hit a rock bottom a few times. And almost lose my life for me to finally be like, okay, I guess I really can't do this without you. That's how stubborn I was. So it's like he will sit there and he will let you do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, he's still there. And if he's like, okay, you're just going with this now. And in my case, that was the case. I just kept going with it. Like, oh, okay, I'll eventually get to it. No, when he has plans and it's time to get things going and you're still trying to do the same stuff, he'll shut that down. Oh, believe me, he will definitely shut that down. He will shut that down and he will love you and he will be there, but he will reveal what needs to be worked on and then you just move from there. The point is, the relationship is like every other relationship you have that's intimate, that's healthy. But the difference is, it's agape love. It's unconditional. He's there regardless. He is there regardless. He already knows how things are going to play out. So he's there regardless. He already knows. And he literally has unconditional love, like a parent. He literally has unconditional love for you. He's there for you. He's going to let you do your thing, let you be independent, but then at the end of the day, he knows that you're going to need him and he's going to be there. And he'd rather you start the process sooner than later, because why wait till things really hit the fan? And then at that point, it's going to be harder to trust. And this is something I'm working with myself. This is something I struggle with, is if you don't start the trusting process while things are not as intense, or you're not really going through a whole bunch of trials at that time, if you don't start the trusting process while things are pretty good, when it really matters and when it really counts, when you actually need that, the trust and the faith and everything, that's when people fall. And then they end up saying, you know what, screw this. I thought God was going to be there, blah, blah. I'm not doing this anymore. That's why that happens, because you didn't practice trust and having faith. It takes practice. It takes work. It takes the moments when things are good and you just need to trust, like, okay, help me just get through this day without cussing somebody out, or let me, you know what I'm saying? Just even the little things, and can being consistent, just the small steps, consistently doing that will prepare you and get you easily ready when the big stuff happens. Because at that point, you already got the practice. Nothing has changed on that. You really got to practice, especially if you're not used to depending on him. If you're not used to having him as the foundation, if you're not used to trusting in somebody outside of yourself, that is something that has to be consistent, something that has to have follow through, discipline in that area, because you will get knocked on your butt a few times until you really can just fully trust and have faith that you're good and you're protected by the blood of Christ. So I just wanted to do kind of a relationships basic episode, basics, just let people know it's not as complicated as you're thinking. It doesn't have nothing to do with church, another episode, but I know that, and again, this is something I struggle with as well. Oh, if I have a church, I'm good. No, it's not even about that. And a lot of times, a lot of the work that needs to be done is outside of churches. And that's why I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this ministry, because it's not about just being in a church. It's about reaching people that are outside the church. It's about helping people that are struggling, that never had that support system, that never really ended up accepting themselves and loving themselves, and healing a lot of the wounds that they just never healed. They just kept it on the back burner and easily get triggered, so it is so beyond saying a prayer and reading the Bible and going to church and having that support system. It's a variety of a lot of those things, but at the end of the day, it's about the relationship with Christ. Because again, another episode, a lot of these churches aren't really teaching the genuine stuff. It's not Bible based. A lot of it is prosperity teaching. A lot of it's about us, just more focused on us. Like, oh, you're going to, get that $1 million next month. Like, what? I'm seeing that on social media. A lot of that. Claim that $1,000 next month. Like, what? So they're making it about us. And I'm sorry, a relationship with Christ is really about him and who you are through him. And so I know that probably makes some people think like, what? Psh, forget it then, because they wanted it about them. But in order to really succeed, in order to really move forward, in order to really move, like just to heal and to love and to really be in your purpose, you have to make it about Christ, and you have to make it about others that are healthy. Let me rephrase that, that are healthy, because I feel like some toxic people are in the prowls listening to that, but that are healthy. So, with that being said, I don't know. I've talked about this on the Obstacle Warriors podcast, but I just wanted to make sure to have this on the channel as well for those of you who are new with their relationship with Christ, as well as those who are seasoned. And again, if you are just new to the whole situation here with S.Q Ministries, S.Q Ministries is a new ministry. It is all about identity, worth, and purpose. It's literally it's different community, mental health, everything, recovery. Um, it's about the underdogs and the prodigals. It's about the people who have never really healed. And are just walking around with just holes in their hearts, broken, and never got healed, never figure out who they were. And so that's what S.Q Ministries is all about. And it is at that time of the month again. So next month on the 20, next week on the 27th, there will be a monthly info session as well as opportunity to join if you're interested. So make sure to spread the word. Let people know about it. S.Q Ministries. If you're interested in learning more about it, go ahead and check out the website link in the description and register at the link there. There's still time to sign up, so make sure to do that, as well as passing along to those who may be interested in joining the ministry. So I'm really, really excited about this. Again, this is a calling that God has placed on my life after getting at the other end of this. If you follow S.Q Ministries on Facebook, I just celebrated a 1 year sobriety on Valentine's Day, which is also my 1 year walk with Christ consistently. So it has just been a lot of milestones, a lot of anniversaries already. Like, he has done so much in just this 1 year. So I'm truly, truly blessed and thankful. And even though I feel like we're going to have our struggles, there are going to be things that we're going to continue working on just in our lifetime. The goal is to continue to work on it, letting God do his thing and just giving that to him, and working on the things that you do have control over, and giving the rest to Christ and letting him work that out. It's about working together, being a team, not just thinking you can just do everything, or everything is up to you, and just being very self focused and centered. So it's so easy as humans to do that. And especially if you've just been lost, a lot of times it's hard not to go there. So I pray for you that are listening right now. Again, this is new. This is a new walk for you. If you don't know what to do and you want to give your life to Christ, just ask, say, Lord, please, I surrender. Please help me. I give my life to you. Guide me. Your will, not mine, be done. Even just something that simple will get the wheels going. There doesn't have to be a particular prayer. Just letting Jesus know you surrender, and that you want to move forward, and you're done, and you want him. You want him as the foundation, and you want him to reveal what he needs to reveal to you. So that is all. And I just pray that you all have an amazing rest of the week.